Alright guys, we're going to continue looking at segment lengths. So very quickly, I'm going to just refresh your memory on the formulas here. So you should have A times B equals C times D. For the second one, type 2, you should have A times A plus B equals C times C plus D, and A squared equals B times B plus C. Alright, now that we have that, we're going to continue looking at page 2. So we made it through the first part of the practice problems, and now we're going to look down. You should be on page 2 if you did the first video. Okay? Alright, 7 and 8 are like the last two practice problems we did. I'm going to help you set one up. Since we've already done a couple of these, we'll probably not go all the way through it, but just kind of remind you that when we have a secant, we are using type 2. So we have two chords or two secants where the chords are on the inside. The secants here go on the inside and outside, and we're going to write it as 8 times A plus B. So it'd be 8 plus 3x plus 4, and then that's going to equal 7 times 7 plus 5x plus 2. Alright, again, you can combine like terms and then distribute. All you're doing is solving for x. Okay? So, again, if you forgot how to do that, go back to the last video and watch problems 5 and 6, and hopefully that will help you. Alright, so we're going to scroll on down here and look at a different type of question. We're going to look at some that have a tangent and a secant. Okay, so if you look, this one only has a number on the outside. So this means we're looking at type 3 if you refer back to the formula sheet at the top of your page. So that means we're going to have A squared is going to equal B times B plus C. So this side is going to work similar to the last formula, and the only difference is now we're going to square this number. Alright, so if we take our equations here and fill in what we have, we are going to have 24 squared and we're going to have 18 times x plus 18. So 24 squared is 576. 18x, so we got to distribute here again, and 18 times 18 would be 324. And then I'm just solving for x, so I've got to subtract 324 for both sides. So because of the room, we're just going to subtract without me writing it down. So we're going to have 252 equals 18x divided by 18. 2 divided by 18 equals 14. This problem said solve for x, so I am finished. Okay, finished with that problem. Alright, number 10 is the same type of problem. The only difference is we're solving for a segment instead of just for x. Alright, so if we look at number 10, we're going to set this up just like number 9, same formula. So we're going to have 16 squared is equal to 8 times 5x minus 1 plus 8. And if you want to combine these two, you can go ahead and do that. So 16 squared is 256. And then we're going to distribute here, and we're going to have 40x. If I combine those, that gives me plus 7. So 8 times 7 is 56. So since those are on the same side, they're just combining like terms, we can go ahead and add those together first and then just distribute once. Just makes it a little bit shorter. So that's why I did that. Alright, so I'm going to subtract 56 from both sides. I'm going to get 200 is equal to 40x. Divide both sides by 40. That gives me x equals 5. Okay, so x equals 5, but don't stop there. Remember, if you stop here, you did everything correctly and you're still going to get it wrong. So you have to get the answer to whatever the question is asking for. So it can be a little bit tricky if you don't go back and check. So we need PN. So where's PN? PN is the segment on the inside here. So I need to do 5 times x minus 1. So 25 minus 1 equals 24. So PN equals 24. And that's my actual answer for number 10. Okay? So again, it's the same concept. It's just you got to make sure that you follow the directions. All right, for number 11, this is same formula. I'm going to go ahead and skip that one because hopefully that's not too difficult there. We're going to look at number 12 only because it's got the 3x there, and I want to show you, make sure you don't leave one step out. So this would be our tangent side. So this is the side we squared. So we're still using the same formula that we used before. A squared equals b times b plus c. So this is our a because this is the side, it's upside down this time compared to the other ones. But this is going to be our a. So we got to square this. Equals 9 times 16 plus 9. So if we go ahead and add those together, 16 plus 9 is 25. So we're going to put 25 here. So that's our A plus B, or B plus C from the equation. All right, the reason I want to show you this is because this has two terms inside the parentheses squared. Because this segment is 3x, and this represents our A, and we got to square A. Be very careful not to just square the x. You got to square the 3 and the x. So we're going to have 9x squared, and then 9 times 25 is 225. Divide by 9. X squared equals 25. And if you take the square root, you get x equals plus or minus 5. But you cannot have a negative distance, so it has to be just 5. This time it says solve for x, so x equals 5. Okay? All right, we're back to type 1. We're still using the same three formulas, but we're back to type 1 again. So we're going to have A times B is equal to C times D. All right, this one's a little bit different because you have a binomial times a binomial. And if you remember, a binomial times a binomial is going to give you a quadratic. And then 12 times 10. All right, so this side, 120, no big deal. We just multiply. This side, again, you've got to do distributive property. So we got x times x. we've got x times 6, which is 6x, and then negative 1x in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and combine the 6x and the negative x. So I'm going to have 5x, and then negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. If you forgot how to do FOIL, you need to go back and review that. Alright, once I do that, I'm going to now set this equal to 0 because I have a quadratic, and that's what I do when I'm trying to solve a quadratic. So I'm going to have x squared plus 5x. I'm going to subtract 120 from negative 6, which is negative 126. And now we set that equal to 0. When we do that, we are going to factor. If you remember how to factor, you have to multiply to get negative 126, and you want to add to get 5. So if you go through your combinations to figure out what multiplies to give you negative 126 and adds to give you 5, you're going to find 14 and negative 9. Okay? So now I can rewrite this as x plus 14 and x minus 9 equals 0. Okay, if you're confused, go ahead and do distributive property and see this is just factored form for this expression. Okay, we learned that back in polynomials. All right, now to find the solution, or to find x, we're going to set this equal to 0 and solve, and we're going to set this equal to 0 and solve. So that means x is going to equal negative 14. And the other one is x equals 9. Now, we're talking about the distance of a line segment. So the distance can't be negative. So you wonder why we have two x's. We don't. We only have one x. And it's going to be the positive value. Each time, it's going to be the positive value. Okay? So just kind of be aware of that. All right, so these others are kind of similar to that. Let's look at another one that has a quadratic. So for number 14, we're also solving for x. So we're going to have x times x plus 5. If you look, this is type 2 formula. And that's going to equal 4 times 4 and 2 is 6. So I'm going to go ahead and combine those. All right, so distributive property, I'm going to have x squared plus 5x is equal to 24. Set that equal to 0. By subtracting 24 from both sides, and then factor what multiplies to give me 24 and adds to give me 5. That's going to be 8 and negative 3. So x plus 8 and x minus 3. X plus 8 equals 0. X minus 3 equals 0. Using the zero product property, again, this is review from polynomials. If I set this equal to 0 and solve, I get x equals negative 8. And I get x equals positive 3. Again, it can't be negative. Cross that one out. We get our one solution, x equals 3. All right, the last ones are similar. I'm going to go through one of these very quickly. I'm about to run out of time on the video here. All right, so this is type 2. So we're going to have x times x plus 15 equals 5.5 times, if I add those together, I get 28. All right, so I'm going to have x squared plus 15x. If I multiply these two together, I get 154. I'm going to set this equal to 0 by subtracting 154. And then solve. So my two factors are x plus 22, x minus 7. Running out of time.